Welcome to I Caught It on Audio. This is Water Cooler Chat episode 30, Killers of the Flower Moon.
Welcome to I Caught It on Audio. We're going to gather around the water cooler today and have a chat about the movie Killers of the Flower Moon. This is going to be part of our Academy Awards Best Picture series. We got this one right. This one actually did get nominated for Best Picture along with a whole bunch of other things. If you haven't seen the movie, there's going to be spoilers. The synopsis of this one is Native Americans find oil and then the white men take advantage of that. What do you guys think of this one?
I think greedy white people suck.
Yeah.
And I'm not afraid to say that.
No.
Bold. I found this movie really, really good and a bit depressing at the same time.
I agree. That's how I felt about it too.
Yeah, it was incredibly well made. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
Like it is consistently tight on the editing and the visuals and all the acting, and the story is just a completely depressing 3.5 hours of how awful humanity can be when it's left to its own devices.
But did it need to be 3.5 hours?
I don't think so, but it is based on a book. Usually movies based on books tend to be longer. I don't know.
And it's based on real events.
Yeah.
Yeah. This comes from the perspective of I don't mind long movies. I know that that's not an opinion that a lot of people also share. Some people do, some people don't. So I wasn't bothered by the length. It felt like a long movie, but didn't feel like 3.5 hours, which is incredibly long.
Yeah.
It felt longer than 3.5 hours. I almost fell asleep several times.
Yeah.
And we started at 6:30. It's
Yeah.
quarter after 6. So.
I think the benefit of the length is, number one, you're covering more of the facts of what happened, which I always appreciate. And number two, there's a certain value in the continuous step-by-step dismantling is more effective when you see it happen step by step rather than skip ahead. And turns out the white people were taking advantage of the Native Americans.
Well, I was thinking about it while I was watching it. I do wish it was a little shorter, but I don't know what I'd cut exactly because there's a lot of stuff that I felt like had to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. The acting, I have to say, was tremendous pretty much across the board.
Yes.
I mean, we know that Scorsese knows how to make a good movie. He's been doing that for 50, 60 years, but the acting was pretty top notch. Not shocking when you look at the cast. Did any of you guys have any favorite performances that jumped out to you?
Definitely the Lily Gladstone character, Molly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She just had such an amazing way of seeming kind of emotionless, but it was the subtlety. It was the subtlety of when she was first being wooed by the Leo DiCaprio character, and how you could tell she was happy that this guy was taking notice of her, but it was not like she was constantly, big smiles and going around all jovial all the time. And then when things were going off the rails, you could tell that she was really hurting, but she was trying not to show it so much. Further on, you couldn't not show it, when she was so in the throes of the poison that was being administered to her.
That shot they did with her eye fluttering, and that was just amazing.
Mm-hmm. I didn't have the same feeling about the De Niro and the Leo and the DiCaprio performances. I thought Robert De Niro was amazing. He was just wonderful at making me hate his character without being so overtly evil in the same way that the Baron Harkonnen in Dune is. Right. But there was still plenty of evil that he was espousing, but he was very, very crafty about the ways that he was going about it. It was always kind of I'm the centerpiece of this town, and I'm this guy who's got to take care of things.
Nobody's a better friend than I am.
Yeah, he was very devious in the way that he was going about his business of thefting from the Osage people. DiCaprio, I've never loved him. I think he is a good actor, but I have yet to see the performance of when Will Smith did that. You remember the one where he was the dad of the Williams twins, King Richard? That's what it was, right?
Yeah.
That performance was I didn't feel like I was watching Will Smith in that movie, and I have yet to have that type of experience with Leonardo DiCaprio. I feel like it's always Leo doing a character, and he did it really good in this one. But it was like, well, that's Leo under the, it's Leo doing his whatever he's doing with his jaw thing, or how much crap cotton he's got in his mouth, doing it, kind of talking like this, but whatever that was.
What is it called when you have cotton in your mouth, Zach? I can't remember.
It's really dry.
It's like cotton in your mouth.
I'm not trying to downgrade his performance. I thought it was a good performance. I just didn't feel like it was up to the level of an Academy Award for it.
Yeah,
I don't think he wasn't nominated, right? If I remember correctly.
I don't think he was. Think so. I know Lily Gladstone was. I'd have to look at the list, but she was definitely the highest point.
De Niro was as well.
Oh, I believe that. I think she was the high point, but there were no weak points. I liked how dim DiCaprio's character was, and it's interesting because we're seeing it from his perspective. So at first you're like, all right, he ain't the brightest. Yeah. He's talking to his uncle, and he's like, oh, I love women and money. And I'm like, all right, it's going to be hard to get behind this guy. And then the first time you see him like stealing, you're like, oh, okay. Yeah. And then he just keeps making and it's not because it wasn't out of character. He was just a dummy, like a greedy dummy. It was really. I thought it was really well done.
Oftentimes being used by other people,
easily manipulated.
I did really love the scene between him and De Niro in the prison, where De Niro's like, "Well, you're gonna regret this," and he's like, "I ain't got nothing but regrets." And I thought that was like he finally realized how all of his stupid actions have affected him in such an awful, awful way,
and yet he still couldn't admit. To his wife what he did in the moment, because he was still trying to save himself, or like oh no, I thought it was the medicine for you. It's like, well, I think you knew better than that, even as dim as you are.
Yeah, but it was perfectly on point for the character, because those husbands of the Osage women were very much trying to better themselves and self-preservation. It was like they didn't really have anything to offer the world, or any good skills or anything. So they just went and found someone who was rich and got them convinced that they should be, the spouse. And so it made sense that, he wasn't willing to own up to that, because he's still kind of trying to preserve and survive and do the thing that he's been doing, most of his life since he got out of the military.
I thought it was a really interesting choice at the end of the movie to do the epilogue as a radio play.
Oh, yeah.
I think the commentary there, at least as I read it, is, of course, the story then gets told by white people. It even mentions that there was no mention of, in the obituary for Molly, after she dies when she's like 50 or something. Yep. There's no mention of all the stuff that happened, because it was basically sort of, yes, the FBI eventually sent down Kirsten Dunst's husband to take care of stuff.
Good old Clemens.
He's so good no matter what he's doing.
He absolutely is.
He doesn't have to do much, but it just works for me.
My favorite of his roles is the ever-suffering husband of Kirsten Dunst.
Yes.
But does that even take acting, Dave?
No, I know.
She's so terrible.
I don't know.
But yes, they did eventually send people down to investigate the murders, but it still got more or less swept under the rug.
The Osage people paid $20,000.
Yeah, eventually they were forced to do something. They did something, but it wasn't like this is a well-told story, at the time. And I also think it was an interesting choice, because there were some people that would say, why is Martin Scorsese, a white guy from New York, telling this story? And I think he was acknowledging that by being present, actually being in that last scene, saying, well, this is, number one, he has the clout to get the story told, which is perhaps it's better if it was told through the perspective, through the work, the art of a Native person who knows more about this, the experience. But also, he did choose to tell the story through the white people's eyes, which left room for the story to be told from the other perspective as well. And I think he was acknowledging, I can't tell the whole story. I'll tell what I can tell from the angle of my people, quote unquote, people who had the power at the time. I don't know. Maybe what did you guys think that worked, that last scene?
Yeah, I liked the conclusion with the radio show production of it. I thought that was a really good way to do it.
It did catch me off guard at first. I was like, oh my gosh, what's happening now?
Yeah.
And then once once I fell into the rhythm of it, I really, really liked it. But when it first hit, I was just kind of taken back by it.
Yeah, I will admit, my first thought was, fuck, it's Asteroid City all over again.
Yeah.
Asteroid City with Lucid Dash, a Prairie Home Companion.
Yeah.
Well, do you guys think that this was worthy of being nominated for Best Picture, being among the top 10 movies?
I do.
I do too.
I was bored out of my mind, but yes.
I agree. I think it's definitely one of the 10 best. There are other movies I've enjoyed a lot more to what you're saying, Dave. Sometimes there's movies that I admire but don't love. This is somewhere in between. Thought it was really good, but I'm not eager to rewatch it necessarily. And there are other movies I've seen this year where I've been like, oh, what a great movie. I'm going to watch that one again.
I put it in the same category as like All Quiet on the Western Front last year.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
I don't ever need to see it again, but it's telling an important story. So that's good. It was longer than it needed to be for me. I also don't know what I would have taken out of it.
Sometimes you watch a movie to learn something and admire the art, and then you're like, cool, I did that. Now I'm going to go watch, The Holdovers again or something,
Yes.
Yeah, it's got nominated for 9.
10, I
awards.
think.
10?
This says 10.
What can you list them?
Yep. Actor in a supporting role, costume design, achievement in music written for motion pictures, original song, original score, achievement in production design, film editing, cinematography, which definitely deserves it.
Mhm.
Gorgeous looking movie, as well as the editing.
Yep.
Actress in a lead role for Lily Gladstone, directing for Scorsese, and picture of the year.
I can't argue with any of those.
No, I think they all fit. I don't think it's my pick for Best Picture of the 10. Certainly not of the 5 I think we've watched now. I think if I had to pick now, I'd pick the rom-com that we watched, the Korean one.
Past Lives.
Past Lives, yeah.
You think it's a rom-com?
Yes.
All right.
I mean, of the movies we've watched.
Yeah. Minus the com. Yeah, mostly just rom.
But
Dave, that's my favorite so far too. I would agree.
Yeah.
That's the one that comes to mind and I think about regularly. Matt, you're on board with us, right? That's your favorite.
No.
Which one of the 5 we've watched?
Opposed.
Which one would you pick, Matt?
If we're going just on movie I enjoyed watching the most, it would probably be The Holdovers.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
That's a close second for me too. But Barbie's also a close second. So. How about you, Zach?
I think it's kind of between The Holdovers and Past Lives. I think I'd probably go a little bit more towards Past Lives.
Okay.
It feels a little more weighty than The Holdovers.
I think that the Holdovers was very good, but there was just a little too much of the downtime or slowness kind of in the middle section. Whereas I think Past Lives had a really good straight through pacing appropriate for what was being told.
Yes, the pacing was all slow.
It was a regular amount of pacing. It was the right amount for some and maybe not the right amount for others.
It's the kind of movie you watch while you're painting the office, I think.
Yeah.
I think you just need to do
when the paint fumes are
All right. Do you guys have anything else on this one?
No.
Well, so for this one, of those awards, what do you think it's going to win?
Best Actress.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Best
It
Actress.
should win that.
There's a sense of historic value and also there's a sort of sentiment for it, but I would say that it's deserving. So regardless, I will have no problem with it. Well, I think the only one that's competing for me is Emma Stone in Poor Things, but you guys probably haven't seen that one yet.
No,
is that one of our best pictures?
I think it's on the list.
Okay.
It is.
What about De Niro? We've seen 3 of the supporting actors.
Who else
so
is
far?
in
De
that
Niro,
category?
Robert Downey Jr. and Ryan Gosling, plus Mark Ruffalo for Poor Things and Sterling K. Brown for American Fiction. I haven't seen either of those 2.
Ruffalo was a whole lot of fun in Poor Things.
Yeah, I don't know. I think De Niro has a pretty good shot on that.
I think so too.
Me too.
And I could see editing.
Yeah.
And maybe production design or was it costume design and production design, Dave?
Costume design, production design, and I think cinematography, costume design,
Film
production
editing.
design, and film editing are pretty good possibilities for it. But I don't know. Oppenheimer is really gonna is probably gonna clean house on a lot of those. Just because that's
I think
what people
Poor
like.
Things. Yeah, I think Poor Things might win costume design, if not production design too. But I would say it has a good shot in those 4 categories. It's one of the favorites at the very least. Are we going to do our big bad all the other movies next time around?
Yes, the next episode we've got for our water cooler chat is going to be the remaining 5 entries in the Best Picture nominations for the upcoming Academy Awards. So we're going to try and watch all 5 of those in the next 2 weeks, and then we'll sit down and have a nice long talk about that and give our predictions and our best picks and all that stuff. Until then, tell us what you think of Killers of the Flower Moon in the comments. Like and subscribe if you're into that kind of thing. And if you want more content like this, you can find everything we've done at 64tacos.com. And if you really liked it, go to buymeacoffee.com/64tacos and you can buy us a taco. Thanks for listening.
I caught it on audio.